Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So in today's point of view, we're going to be talking about spiritual initiations because many starseeds and lightworkers are going through major initiations right now. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about what a spiritual initiation is, how to recognize if you are going through one, and what you can do to move through it successfully, because we all want to graduate, right? So when we are talking about spiritual initiations, what are we talking about? Well, the way the Pleiadians talk about spiritual initiations is a point that we reach at several times in our spiritual development where our consciousness is being cracked open. So we are being given the opportunity to move to the next level of consciousness. So when we hit these crossroads in our lives, we're often in the middle of an initiation. And many of us are going through this right now and will be for the rest of this year. So the Pleiadians thought it would be helpful to talk a bit about them and how to make your way through one, because these are not always the easiest events to navigate. So what does a spiritual initiation look like? How do you know if you're going through one? Well, the way the P's explain this is that you can recognize spiritual initiations by two main things. The first is that it may look like your entire life is crumbling. So this is one of the signs that you're being initiated to a higher level of consciousness. And the other way that spiritual initiations often present themselves is when it looks like you're hitting an issue in your life that you just can't solve. When you hit those issues that feel impossible. Or the way it tends to show up for me is something that looks like it doesn't have a solution. Like every option is equally bad. So this is how spiritual initiations often reveal themselves to me, is when you feel like you're backed into a corner. And something that often goes along with a spiritual initiation is feelings of hopelessness, or like you're going backwards. So if you find that this is happening in your life, you may be going through a spiritual initiation. And we have many initiations in our life. So unfortunately, this is not something that's a one-off. This is something that happens several times as we reach higher and higher levels of consciousness. So how do you move through a period of initiation, especially if things are feeling a little hopeless? How do you move through this? Well, according to the Pleiadians, the point of a spiritual initiation is to force us to surrender. So initiations are often showing us where we are still in the energy of control, where we're trying to control things. So in order to move through your spiritual initiation, what is often required is total surrender, turning it over to your higher self, to your master consciousness, and letting go. Because the defining characteristic of most spiritual initiations is that you can't solve it from the mind. Because remember, as we have talked about so many times, the mind is the 3D operating system. And the mind is all about separation and control. And so in order for us to move up the ladder of consciousness, we have to let that go. So that's one of the reasons why spiritual initiations are often characterized by situations that seem to have no solution. Because what this is forcing us to do is surrender, to turn it over to our heart, to acknowledge to our higher self, we don't know what in the world to do in this situation, and turn it over. That is the only way for us to move through a spiritual initiation, because we can't do it from the mind. We can rack our brains forever and we won't be able to break through to the solution. And the reason for that is, as we move into higher and higher levels of consciousness, we have to get more and more out of the mind. So if you find yourself going through a spiritual initiation right now, like so many of us are, you now know what the key is to moving through it. It's all about surrender. It's all about getting out of the mind and turning the problem over to your heart. Because at the time your higher self created this problem in your life, at the same time, your higher self created the perfect solution. So the only way for us to move through our initiations are to get into our heart space, to surrender, to get out of the mind. So let me know in the comments below, are you going through a spiritual initiation right now? And what is that looking like for you? Drop that in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. I'll see you next time. Bye.